Hey everyone, hey, air sealing and water sealing electrical boxes and light outlets on your home is super important to make sure that your home lasts a long time. You don't want air leaking and you don't want water getting in your home. So here we're going to show you a number of different options. I have about 4 or 5 different types of boxes and lights we're going to look at, and want to show you why we picked what we picked here, why this works in this application. We're also going to show you the products we used on this actual penetration and the steps we took to do it. So I want to go ahead and show you those things. Well, let's get started. All right, so let's take a look at the first option. This is a pretty typical option you always see. This is just a standard box. It's 20.3 cubic inches. And you'll see this get installed on the outside of a home. They'll just cut a hole and they'll put it right in the wall. And then you got to figure out, how am I going to actually flash that? How am I going to keep the water out of it? So you can put some zip tape around it. You can actually caulk around this and you can seal it. You can try to seal it that way. This is probably the least desirable option that you can pick. We didn't do this. We did do this in some of our soffits on the porches where you don't need an air seal, but this works. You'll see this a lot on homes. So try to avoid this if you can. The second thing we found that we actually looked at, but we decided not to use, is this Arlington Inbox. And I'm going to show you some other products here by Arlington that we did actually like to use. This is their inbox. It's actually kind of cool to where you can, if you open these boxes up, you can see inside. The outlet goes inside here, actually screws those holes, and it's recessed in here significantly, so you don't see a lot of this. Most of your siding is going to come up, or your brick or your stucco will hit right here, and then you don't see a lot of this box sticking out. The problem that we found, I actually looked at some other builders that were building, and you'll see that they get their blocks out too far and these hinges hit on the top, and you can kind of see this a little bit closer here, but the hinges will hit, and then it doesn't open all the way, so if you don't plan right, these will get stuck. The other thing I didn't like is these tabs right here on the edge. If these things actually break off and this thing's locked in the house, there's not a lot you can do to get a new box on this thing, or new cover. So didn't really like that as far as from a longevity standpoint of how this box would work. So we kind of stayed away from this. We originally were going to try to use this, but that's why we decided not to use it. But it's definitely a good product, but that's a concern that you might have. So what we did end up using for the actual, this is for the electrical outlets, is we used this product here, and this is also made by Arlington. And the actual number on this, it's a Arlington FR101F. And what you're getting is an electrical box that's actually adjustable. So it comes out with a 1 3/8 inch standoff here for the box. This allows you to adjust this box. If you can see here, there's a seam right here. So you can take this box off and flip this around on the back side. It allows this to be a 5/8 standoff. You can get a 7/8 that they have, an adjustable ring that comes in this bag, that if you stick that on here, you can actually add that onto this and you'll get 7/8, or you leave it as 1 3/8. So this was adjustable, which we like that. It came out standard, which actually works. 1 3/8 works for what we're doing here, and I'll show you why. But it also, what we liked about it was we get the depth we need to make connections for our series that we have with all of our wires that are coming out. We're able to knock out one of these spots here, and then it does have a seam here, but it allows us to air seal this around it. We can caulk around this and air seal this here, or we can foam the back of this. And then we have a nice flange on the outside here that we can flash to. And if you see behind me, this is the box that was used here. And I'll go through the steps here once I show you a couple of their boxes. But we can take and we can flash this really well. We can also caulk really well around the back of this and seal this into this zip sheathing here, or if this was Tyvek or another type of building wrap, you could do the exact same thing. And it allows you to flash it just like a window, essentially. It works really good for getting it nice and watertight. And then by being able to caulk around this back flange, in comparison to like this box here, where you can't caulk around a flange at all, you're just relying on caulking right here at the face of the paper. It doesn't, or the zip, it doesn't really lend you to have as great of a seal. So we liked this application, a flange plus the depth, adjustable depths, and then we can also seal around the back. It worked out really well. So that's what we like there. The other options, so we talked about light boxes. There's a couple options that they have for light boxes as well. This is an Arlington product as well. This is their FR405F, and that's what this is. We opted for this where we have lights, where we don't need a ton of wires in here. This gives us enough space. It's a step up from the pancake box, This has a 1 3/8 standoff as well here. It's adjustable. You can see that this recorder ring can come off and you end up with a 5/8 ring. So it gives you an option of 1/2 inch or 1 1/4 depths. That's what it is, 1 1/4. So that's a 1/2 inch or 1 1/4. But this is the same application, really great for flashing. We can seal on the back. It actually has a spot here that's recessed that you snap in your actual connector for your wire. And then you can take and then caulk this in really well, stick it to the wall. You can air seal it in here really good with some zip liquid flash. And then it gives you enough space to make up your wires inside. So this is great for the exterior lights on the building. So that's adjustable. Now they also have another product that's very similar to that, which is this one here for the light outlets. This one's a little deeper if you take a look at this. So it gives you more space. So if we're tying up more wires in here, we got a series going with our lights, we need more space for the conductors. This is their FR420F. So the FR420F, the difference of this is you'd have to cut out the back of your sheathing and you'd have to put this in. So if you did that, you would want to make sure you air seal this really good with some liquid flash, stick it in. And I actually would take the actual opening and wrap like some stretch tape around that inside before you caulk it on the edge of the plywood. And I'll show you this on this back behind me here, kind of what we did. But this allows you to make those connections right through the back, inside, air seal, and you can also flash with this, but get the extra depth by using that their FR420F. This is the Arlington inbox right here, and you can see how they got the cord coming out the bottom of this, so all it's made up inside and it comes down and out. So this works real well if you don't want it sticking out of the wall too far. But we've got some other the boxes we're going to put in these other boxes here. They actually will be not sticking out far either, so I think it'll be much more longevity. So the other reason that we picked this box is because just for longevity purposes, like I said on that other box, that inbox, it just seemed like those tabs could snap off. This is still a plastic box, but it's got a 1-inch spot to put your screws in here, and it allows these things. We can, if we had a problem with the box got hit, box got broke, that we had screwed on this, the exterior box, weatherproof box, we just take and replace the box, replace the actual cover, not the actual box, and this thing lasts a lot longer. That's one of the biggest reasons for the longevity of this, that I decided to go this route versus that inbox. All right, so let's take a look at the system that we have on this house and why we decided to use this box, which is the FR101F by Arlington. So what we have is we have our zip sheathing, and then we have the zip rain screen product that's here. It's got this area on the back. It's a 1/4 inch thick that allows you to get some airflow and water drainage behind your siding. So this is going to get hardy siding on this house. So this sits right on top of the zips. This will get secured with a cap stapler right on here. And then what we have is we have the flange thickness that is here for the actual box, and then there's a little bit of thickness that you gain, maybe just like a 1/16 from your zip stretch tape that you can see here, and that's the product here. You can see this comes in rolls. It's a zip. It's great material. You can get this in 6-inch, or this is a 3-inch product, and we use this on the edge here just to span this. You could use regular tape, just like a regular stretch tape that's here as well. But what's happening is you get a little bit of a buildup here. This is probably a good hard, 3/16 or a 1/4, which almost flushes out with your rain screen right here. So what ends up happening is we're gonna put a block over this. This will get a block over the top. So this is your siding, and then your lap siding's gonna come butt into this. So the rain screen, it has to actually stop at the flange, because if you bring it over too far, it'll build this out too far and you'll have a bulge in your siding. So the rain screen will stop along the edge, and then it'll still leave about a little bit of like a 16th or 1/8 inch gap between the top of this flange here and the air, so you still get some airflow and the water can get out of here. But ultimately, we're putting the rain screen around the outside of this thing. The hardy siding will come over and butt into this block, and then we'll have a head flashing, some metal that'll come here. We'll tape it here, and then it'll come over the top of this with a drip metal that'll go over the top of this block. This is around the entire house. All the penetrations are getting that. So now I want to look at how we actually put this thing together. So, and how the steps that we used to do this. I showed you a couple of the products already. We'll go through them again and also show you how we did this. So the first thing we did was we actually cut the hole in the siding. So we marked out where this actual outlet went. We cut this hole. Then we had a raw piece of OSB. So it would have looked like, like this right here, just a raw piece of OSB. This is a piece of zip. And then we took the stretch tape and we actually took and stretched this around the opening. So I put it inside the building, put it down on the other side, and then we stretch this over the face down here behind what you're seeing here, this flange. So we have stretch all the way around the window, or like a window, but we started on the bottom and we wrapped all the way to the top and went around that way. Then we put a headpiece on the top. So it's literally just like a window if you were to go ahead and put your tape on your window, like you can see here. So bottom goes on, sides, then your top. Then what we did was we took the liquid flash, which is this product here. You get this in 29 ounce or 10.3 ounces, the liquid flash, and we caulked all around the back side of this box, like right up against the edges of this box. And that's so we could get a good air seal right against the sheathing. So then we slid this into the opening, so that caulking is right up against the zip tape, this zip stretch tape. And then we were able to just sandwich that thing in there. And then at that point made sure our box was nice and level. And then we went ahead and secured these screws through here. You got to have a screw that has just a little bit of the threads all the way to the end, otherwise you won't bite into this sheathing. The reason that, backing up too, the reason that we covered the edge of the zip like that is just to make sure that there's no moisture gets around that. If anything got around that opening, it's not going to damage this whatsoever. So we can't kick the water out like you would on a window, like if you have a tip sill, but we were able to at least cover it that way, and that's why we did that. So once this thing is in there and secured with the screws, then we come in, we do not do anything on the bottom. So you can see this, there's no flashing on the bottom here. So if any water gets behind this, it has a way to get out. And then we're taking our stretch tape, putting it up the sides on each side, and then we're going over the top here and all the way to the edge of these, up to the edge of the tape here. So you're completely covering that. And then we actually come back with liquid flashing caulked over the top of these screws. If you ran some wider tape like this, you could bring that all the way over the screws and potentially get away without not caulking the screws. But we went ahead and caulked the screws. And then this now again, what will happen is this gets a block that fits right over the top of that. And this is a 5.5 inch wide block. And then we have metal that we had custom bent that'll actually go right to the zip sheeting, comes out and over the top of this block right here. And then we'll put another piece of zip stretch tape, or not actually just regular zip tape, over the top to the zip. And then that makes this thing solid. Then your lap siding will die right into the side of that. So that's being done the same way on even the light fixtures as well. So we did these up higher, and it turned out exactly the same way. So it worked out really well, except coming out of the back, we're having to come out the back, and then on the back of those, they come with I'll show you this fitting that they come with. But it snaps in. It's like you can kind of see it there. It's an oval looking piece, and it just snaps in, and it doesn't pop out enough. You can see the recess where it doesn't hold this out off the wall. This flange stays flush to the back of the sheeting, so it'll fit flat against the sheet, and then you can mount right there. You just drill through, seal that thing to the back to the sheet, your zip sheathing, with a liquid flash, and then just flash this thing, caulk that around, seal it up, and then flash this just how we talked about the other one. And then you put a mounting block on that, and it works out really well. All right, well, hope you got an idea of some of the options you have available if you're installing electrical outlets or light boxes on the outside of your home, so you can air seal them and water seal them well. So if you got questions, reach out to us, comment here in the video. If you'd like more information about building a custom home or an ADU, visit our website at freemansconstruction.com. If you're needing help with real estate, buying or selling your home or your land, visit our real estate company's website at freemansrealty.com. Thanks again for watching.